welcome to part 1 of Behind the Blog. This is something we've done before, but now it's back. It's a 6-part series for officially season 1 of Behind the Blog. It's with Jeff D. Lowe, and it's brought to you by Miller Lite. These guys have stepped up for all of my content, every step along the way. Every show I do, it's Miller Lite, which personally I love because it's the best beer on the market. It's great taste, less filling, only 96 calories only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. So celebrate responsibly from the Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Get your Miller Lite. Great taste, less filling. Jeff D. Lowe is in the building.
What up?
We put out a poll, if you will, and I said, we got 6 parts of Behind the Blog. And who do you guys want to hear from the most? I got a couple people in mind that I definitely want to do, but then I was like, let's see what the fans want. Far and away.
Really?
Number 1. Far and away.
I guess, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Boy, it better be interesting.
You and PFT were like the big front runners. You know, everybody wants to know the mystery behind PFT, but you were the big front runner otherwise. So no pressure.
I'm a weirdo. It's okay.
Yeah,
there's some weirdo tendencies I can get into.
I think there's a couple things going on. One, the weirdos, the nerds took over. Right? Like the world. Like from and we'll speak more about that in depth, but 2, I would have to say, just quickly running through my head, you know, I don't want to split hairs here because there's a lot of great content being made. I think you probably had the biggest year at Barstool.
Outside of I don't know.
I mean, like sure, Dave and shit like that, but like as far as like breakout years where like you did your thing, you stood out. I think there's a handful of us that all stepped up during quarantine and brought new content to the table, and you were a part of that team. And then, you know, just in general though, it's like LCB really started to pop. Obviously, the dozen becomes a phenomenon. Anything else that you're doing that like really involving the trivia or hosting and all that shit really worked. So I feel like it was a big year for you personally and professionally, I'd imagine.
Yeah, this will be a theme in everything we say now till the end of this. I'm a very big never satisfied person.
Yeah, well, that's a big theme on the Kevin Clancy show, so that works.
Yeah, I just, everything I do, I kind of hate. However, it's become evident lately that people do really like the dozen. Yeah. They're lunatics.
Oh, yeah.
The fans are, you're all fucking crazy people.
Well, you know what it is?
Crazy.
What's interesting about the dozen...
But I love them.
I would bet that, you know, this show has their set of fans because they like basketball or football or whatever. And then this show likes pop culture. And the girls have this and and everyone's kind of like segmented. But then something like trivia, like that's generic, that touches all of those. You're going to get questions from all that shit. You get everybody. And when you put all of the stoolies together, you're going to get all of the assholes and the weirdos and everything comes out.
Well, even Big Cat said it because Big Cat was embroiled in probably the biggest controversy in the tournament because him and Roan are agents of chaos. People were very mad at them, which I thought was a little ridiculous. Provocateurs. But he noted, he's like, I'm looking at people yelling at me. He's like, they don't even follow me. Because they don't even know who I am.
And that's how you know, man. That's how you know that you reached a whole new level. Because that's also the thing. You know, you don't have to be into sports or the Barstool behind the scenes, or you know, it helps. But you can just be like, I'm here to watch an internet quiz show, and so. Getting outside the bubble, I think, is always the goal in my mind. It's like you can come in here and just do stooly stuff, and you'll be fine. You know, you can ride the wave that's already kind of in motion. But making your own thing is where it's at, and that's like when you should really be proud of yourself is that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we try to keep that way too, and you know that. Like the Rico stuff was probably the most Barstool that we got. Like anything with Rico.
But that even played if you didn't know. It's one of those things, if you know the details, it enhances it. Yeah. It's not necessary.
Exactly. Even bringing Dave in, like his story, like it all kind of, it worked in that sense. And that's kind of my goal for that as well. Like people are always like, get a Barstool history category. And like we've had it already this season. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't, like, you know, it's not that I don't want Barstool fans to like it, but they can like it, but we can also, people who maybe don't know this place like it. And that's been the coolest thing.
And you know what? That's also sometimes kind of the scariest thing, because you know we have this there's probably like 100,000 people that just watch like everything we do. You know? There's like you put a video out, it's getting 100,000 views. It just has this this core, and it's very easy to just cater to them and not take chances. And you make the inside jokes, you take the low hanging fruit, you do all that shit, and you'll get the good feedback, and you'll get the good comments, and you'll get blah, 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 blah. But for what? You know, it's like...
Exactly.
And that's, these sponsors are like, okay, I already got that audience from the other shows that I sponsor. Get me some new shit. And along with the new shit comes risks and sometimes bad feedback and all of that, it's harder. It's more legwork.
Oh, absolutely. But it makes it, you're right, it makes it better. Like it just...
When you succeed, it's that much better.
But again, like it's the same, it's like you said, it's that never satisfied. It's like, I don't, and I'm like a big responder to all criticism, and I think that probably because, I don't know, like I viewed this place as a fan before I came working here, so like I still like to be in that lane. Like my stuff only matters if people like it, so I respond kind of to both. And I'd be like, oh, you don't like taking criticism? No, I actually do. If it's constructive, I will fucking take it. And so my concern will always be doing something that I don't hear any criticism on, because
indifference, man.
Maybe I'll make something perfect one day, but
but it's not.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah,
I highly doubt that.
It's not going to make anything perfect. Nobody ever does. And so, and even if you did, there'd be somebody saying, "This is too perfect, man.
Yeah.
I like it to be a little more raw." So the death here is indifference. It's like love me, hate me, and that's something I'm a very polarizing figure, so I have a lot of people who hate me. So it's kind of a little cheat code to be like, well, as long as they're saying something, but I would prefer them not being like, you fucking asshole, you suck. But I do genuinely believe on some level that it's stirring up some sort of emotion. And what's cool for you is that for the most part, there was a couple things that I think people were coming at you. A couple like slip-ups, if you will. Yeah. But for the most part, it's not like who you are as a person, and it's not. It's becoming at this point. It's going to be. But what I'm saying, when people are criticizing you, it's like they're criticizing a trivia question or this round of questions or whatever. It's nothing that's gonna like rip your soul out.
Yeah, it's like I've had to kind of disconnect a little bit, and I did do something which I hated. I opened my DMs back up.
Oh, you
man. I did turn on the quality filter on Twitter.
Okay.
Oh my god.
And it's like
which is like, if you really want to say something, just DM me. But I just don't like let me filter out at least some of it, because some of it's just a lot.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of nonsense, and there's quality.
I mean, you're great at finding the weirdos on Twitter too. It's just
well, it's horrible for my mental health and anybody's mental health, but it's also like, I love it. I enjoy that's why we're here, Yeah. Like that's what we're doing. If you were to take away like any money, any sponsors, any metrics, all of that success, whatever, and just go back to it, like we're just fucking around on the internet.
Exactly.
And the minute that you don't, let it in, or if you block everybody, if you don't respond, if you don't look, it's like, well, that's cheating. That's like why we're here is to be weirdos on the internet.
Exactly, and that's what I say, because I get some shit for it sometimes, because I truly do reply to everybody. Mostly that I can.
Tired?
Sometimes, yeah.
Time-consuming. No,
it is.
You're a hardworking man.
But it's more of but it's not like a fuck you. Like if they're being like, it's actually
like, let's have a conversation.
I'll reply if there's a conversation. Like if you're just saying malicious, I'm probably gonna be like, all right, I'm not gonna talk to you. But if like you come at me with like criticism or say something, I'll go back and forth. The amount of people that I still talk to who initially said just kind of mean things to me, but had a decent enough point that I could have a back and forth, I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like maybe I didn't convert into a fan, but I always say this too when people criticize, like your skin is so thin. I'm like, it isn't. It's not that it's thin. I'm on Twitter because like the point of it's interactive.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the whole fucking point of Twitter.
We're supposed to be here.
I'm not quite there with Instagram yet. Instagram's a little.
Well, Instagram's weird too.
It's a little. But that's the point, right? Like that's why I'm on there. Yes. And if I'm not going to interact, why
even be on it?
Why be on Twitter?
Yeah, and some people I know get to a point where they're like, this interaction, all of it's garbage and stuff, and then that's fine, jump off. But I've always said that Twitter is one of the top 5 inventions of all time. Because it's, first of all, you always, on any given day, have the chance where, like, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are going to have a public fight over Twitter, and you never know. And then I also just think that, like, but we are getting to a tipping point. But I've always said that the funny and the good have kind of outweighed the bad. And we're testing that in recent years. But some of, when Black Twitter goes off, and it's just hilarious, or when the new meme pops up, or when, has Justine landed yet? All these things that are like timeless, epic internet moments happen because of Twitter. And that I will take a bunch of fucking hate and mean shit about me and my family because I think it's, funny on the other side. Now, if we continue on this trend, eventually we got to burn it down, like Ra's al Ghul style, like burn it down and start over. But right now, I still think that Twitter is worth it for material and content and laughs and insight, and you just got to brush off the assholes.
I mean, I'm only here because of a tweet. Like, my podcast started because
okay. So, and you know what's funny? What's very interesting, if we did this certainly a year ago, maybe even like 9 months ago, I don't know, you tell me, this would have been, I'm sitting down with the movie podcast guy.
Absolutely.
Off the bat, we're talking LCB.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that as well, not to put that down in any way, but it's wild how much it's gone from that to the dozen.
It is. I mean, compared to like what I went to school with, what my first job was, what I came to here, and now I'm like a hack reality game show host.
Yeah.
Which
Dream come true.
I mean that in a great way. Like, it is awesome.
Dude, when I got a taste of it from Survivor, I was like, I want to do this forever.
Like pacing around set and Barstool America was amazing.
Everything else, fuck this show, fuck my podcast, fuck everything. If I could just do any sort of reality TV, any sort of hosting, it's so cushy, it's so fun. But yeah, I mean, so what was the tweet and how did it start?
It was, this was 2016. This is about a week after the NBA Finals. I was working at Good Morning America, and I had built that Twitter account. It was an okay Twitter account, 2 million people. When I took it over, it was like a nothing. Like, they tweeted news, they tweeted the show, and I was like, I got the job. I got the job because, oddly, Darren Ravel. I swear to God, Darren Ravel got me that job.
How so?
I'm friends with him.
No way.
Yeah. Which now it's like a little different because now I mean, he's still.
Do you have like private conversations? Like,
I don't talk to him much as I used to.
Okay.
But
did you when
for as much of the attraction as there is here with like I won't get into that, but he like Big Cat knows he got me my job.
When things would get dicey at Barstool, would there ever be a text?
We never really talked. No, never really.
Because I was gonna say that control your boys or like, hey, you're in the
No, he never
right
once said like what's never once said anything. So to his credit on that.
Okay. So he
got me my job.
He coached like in what sense? He says like this guy's great, you should hire him.
Yeah, he knew me just through Twitter because I remember back before he became very like volatile on Twitter. Like
he was the best originally.
Yeah. So I would send him shit like that I'd see like candy and stuff and like I love that shit.
I used to say on KFC Radio, because people would knock him like, why do I care that how many pennies Aaron Rodgers makes in a year? I'm like, I kind of find that interesting. I think that's a cool little tidbit, so I'm down with it. And then whatever, he became
a little more of a lightning rod, yeah.
But so you were tweeting.
So I would tweet stuff at him, like even through like college, and like then he followed me. He's like, oh, he sends good stuff.
Okay.
Then he saw my first job out of school was Major League Baseball. I worked for MLB.com. I would tweet for teams, for the Padres and the Braves. Oh, and a Chelsea market.
You were one of those like
real fucked
brand
up.
account, man, like team accounts.
I would tweet
Padres was you?
I would tweet from the Padres and the Braves at the same exact time.
No way.
Yeah.
Did they give you
ridiculous? By the way, like they don't do that anymore, really.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to watch both teams and tweet, that's absurd.
Absurd.
I ended up getting fired from that job.
Also, like, hang on, we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. Also, I could imagine now, like, are you allowed to double dip, like, at all? Because I feel like you can't.
No, most teams have their own people now. Yeah.
So,
some teams would only tweet at home, and then they would turn over the road games to
whoever was there.
MLB Advanced Media.
Wow.
And Chelsea market.
And did they give you any leash at all, or was it like just keep it clean?
Because
we as being like a blogger here the whole time, you knew which teams kind of had and which brands, like fucking. Slim Jim or whatever. He's he drives me crazy. But in the beginning, it was like, yo, have you seen Slim Jim's tweets? And I feel like certain teams, you knew that too. Like right now, we all know that the Nats account sucks. So we know that. We know who was funny, who was not. So were you allowed to even like
you were given
make some jokes and shit?
A little leash, but mostly pretty like so-and-so, two-run, whatever. I did a couple of jokes on the Padres account that I hope are still there. They're not like that funny, but like weird reference like Norm Macdonald. I'd just throw them in there. I was fucking paying attention to the Padres back in 2013.
Right. The day that those teams just join us in reality and in the modern day and let those guys, maybe, you can't be maybe certain language you might have to take out, certain types of humor, we got to draw a line. But it's like, just tweet like a fan would tweet, Like if at Padres, when they blow a lead, was just like, fuck! I mean, that would be great. And it would go viral, and people would love it, and you would be the most followed account in baseball. But because you're going to get a couple emails or something.
Yeah.
But God, the first team that says, run wild, they will be rewarded for it. So wait a minute.
Not at all for now.
Back to Darren. So at this point, you've never met him?
I met him in person. I met him in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, so I took a year off after college.
But at the end of the day, he recommended you just knowing you from Twitter.
Moved here, then he
cool.
said, "Hey, there's a job opening. You're good at social."
Good for you. He sent it
I was
to you?
beyond. Yeah, I was beyond not qualified.
Shit, yeah.
Like beyond. Like that's an account. Like Good Morning America. I mean, it's one of the leading news sources in the morning.
You
it's
say
a
you're
huge
not,
show.
but you are because
At that point.
I mean,
I had never held a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
I had big internships. I had a very good resume.
Mm-hmm.
But
how old are you at this point?
How old
are you right now?
I'm 30.
30 now.
So I was, what was that, 2000? So I was 25? No. That was 2014. I was 23.
Okay, so you're like fresh out of college.
And I was going to go run a pretty big brand account.
Studied what
broadcast journalism.
So you wanted to do like internet.
I had big
media.
internships, CBS, MLB, went to the Olympics. Like I did some big shit.
Pretty qualified.
But to run a whole brand,
it's
like the premier show on ABC, like their biggest moneymaker.
Now, are you like are you allowed to like, are you just tweeting news that they're saying, here's tweet
No, they
this.
said like, make this brand better.
Yeah.
It's like I did stuff, like I followed like you and Big Cat.
Yeah,
And, like,
well that's, now that you're saying that, it's jogging my memory where I remember, I think you gave a nod to Robbie with Mark Hamill or something like that.
Absolutely. I brought Robbie in. It's like I would do stuff on.
Like, oh, we got an in with the GMA guy.
I basically took Good Morning at GMA and I put it into weird Twitter. I was like, this to grow this brand and make it go viral, it needs to go viral in weird spots. Because otherwise,
while still being clean and all that, but you can get weird.
But I would do weird, like I would do some weird things and a lot very pop culture. You'd reply to Chrissy Teigen. You do like you do funny things.
Your people. Yeah, you pick your spots.
So I built it up like pretty well. I was very satisfied, at least with the Twitter account. Instagram hadn't hit that like Instagram point yet, where Instagram was like the thing.
Yeah.
And it was the NBA Finals, Cavs won, and LeBron had that picture of him crying. And they really wanted me, for some fucking reason, to get replies on Twitter and ask if that's the new crying Jordan meme. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I just like I have like weird Twitter people, like at the time, not a friend, Trill Ballins, like these people follow the account. I don't want to tweet that. Like,
no,
then they're gonna think
terrible.
like that burns down all of the goodwill I've built up. Where people are like, this account's weird. Like people are like, is he from Philly? He does like Philly sports slang.
So
like
off. You know, that's like not that you have your finger on the pulse of everything up until then. And that one tweet could erase all.
And that was when Crying Jordan was like the thing.
Yeah.
So I said,
it's like, why would Why would do that? No.
But they didn't get it. My bosses were great, but they didn't get it. You know. So I packaged it in a tweet and I said, is it the new big meme along with Crying Jordan? And then I put two more in there. I put Kermit sipping tea, who in weird Twitter, because of Trill Ballins is known as Tea Lizard, because he saw a comment on a random blog, this is Trill at his best, that said, I hate the pig lady, she's so mean to the lizard. About the new Muppets movie trailer from like 2010. So he called the Tea Lizard, and then I said, and this is the one that people forget, I put Smockin in there.
Yeah.
So Trill's like, that, like, everyone knows Kermit sipping tea. Smockin
was a deep cut.
That's a deep fucking cut.
Yeah.
And so that one right over people's heads. And so I tweeted it out and people laughed like, oh, Jeff, what are you doing? Like people were tweeting me. Thought nothing of it. I get to the office and all of a sudden I start to see that it was being called a racist tweet for whitewashing a black Twitter meme, which was stunning to say the least. So I was quite surprised by that. I defended it a little bit. DeRay was tweeting about it. So it was wild. There's a couple like satirical think pieces. I forget who else put stories out. Some people Clem bought it hook, line, and sinker. Clem's like, GMA doesn't know what Kermit, and I'm like, I know his last name is the Frog. I know he's a frog. Like
Tea Lizard.
Like I know he's a frog. Like I know he's not a lizard. And keep in mind he's a Disney property as well. So I thought like this is not a big deal. No.
And are you just sitting there watching it like start to spiral, being like, oh,
so I got a little worried when they were calling me racist. Like when DeRay jumped in, I was like,
that you don't want to get in this social justice.
But then
that's funny.
I get it. My boss was like, "What's happening?" I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Oh no!"
I love when they're like, they don't. We know this is kind of bad, but what's happening?
And so at that point, Trill Ballins, the first time I ever DM'd me, he's like, he goes, "Are you okay? Are you gonna get fired?" He's like, "Are you good?" Because it was starting to really pick up. It was trending big. It was everywhere. And then it really hit a problem because my boss's boss emailed her like, "What is happening here?
No.
Why did the Disney main news thing call Kermit the Frog a lizard?" And That is
This is so amazing.
That's even
is
crazier
so
when you
amazing.
know that for some reason, because of the way Good Morning America structured my job, I didn't answer like a social person. I answered like nobody. I was like a floating
Right,
job.
right.
My boss, her boss, his boss is like pretty high up the chain. So it was from my boss's boss's boss, and that guy's boss is fucking Bob Iger.
Right.
So like
you're not, there's
my
not many
chain of
more-
command to
Yeah.
CEO, but with that tweet, like now I wasn't below that like in terms of structure of the company.
No, of
Who
course,
I answered to was 3 steps below Bob fucking Iger, the CEO of
And
Disney.
you're in trouble because
Now
of the
I don't. Now I
fucking
know
lizard.
Bob Iger didn't see it. I don't think, but the guy below him, who was the president of the Walt Disney Company,
Yeah.
he saw it and emailed, and it got down the 3 steps that then go to me, and that was the problem. I was like, that's not great. Don't love that.
Would prefer this not to be the case. I love why is our main account calling Kermit
Yeah.
the Frog a lizard?
Why are we calling him a lizard?
You know
and
what this remind-
one fucking step removed from one of the most powerful people in media.
Do you like the movie Hook?
Yes.
I'm a huge Hook fan. You know the scene where his watch is ticking and Mr. Smith starts smashing everything in the room and Jack is just sitting there like, what the fuck is going on? I'm picturing you, everyone's having a meltdown. They were like, why are we calling the frog a lizard? And you're just sitting there like, oh, fuck.
Luckily,
Me and my buddies on the internet are...
right.
we're-
The whitewash thing got squashed pretty quickly because like,
That's
there was
good.
some satirical shit where people
Good.
were like, all right, like let's relax. They just called it a lizard. Yeah.
This is what happens.
and
when,
nobody
like,
noticed Smockin.
you-
That was the
yeah,
crazy thing.
Right. Well, but the people who
Yeah.
matter knew, you know? This is what happens when you let like a little bit of the weird in, you know? It's
But
like
because
you
of
hired
that-
an internet guy and gave him the keys and shit gets a little wacky
I talked to Trill for the first time. Ken Jack followed me. And
because of
then-
all this drama.
So it was a long ways past, and
actually one of the
oddly
best things
enough,
that happened.
I'm like a very big I'm a way too down the road goal setter. But I remember watching, and I'm not just saying this for the sake of this. I remember watching the rundown at the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was a Barstool fan since I followed you guys on Twitter, but like I wasn't like an OG Stoolie.
Right.
And I said like, that's what I want to do.
Really?
I was like, that's fucking awesome because I felt kind of suppressed creativity, like
You know which rundown
creatively.
this was? Which Super Bowl was?
It was the Comedy Central one.
Okay. Oh,
I was
got
like,
it,
fuck,
it.
they're
Okay.
blowing up. Like, this is
Got
crazy.
it. Yeah,
this
yeah.
is wild. Like, I knew you guys. Like, I didn't know you guys personally, but I was like, that is a place I want to fucking go. And so I thought about it for a little while, like, how do I get? And I wasn't like, how do I get somewhere like there? I was like, how do I get there?
There, yeah.
Like, that's because like I was tweeting and like whatever, but I went to school for broadcast journalism. I wanted to be on air. Like, that was my dream.
Mm-hmm,
But I didn't want to do local news bullshit. Like, I wanted to do internet stuff.
Yep.
And so it wasn't that long after Ken Jack was an intern at Pardon My Take, and he tweeted movie stuff. I was like, hey, would you want to like workshop a podcast idea? Like, why not?
Him to you or you to him?
Me to him. And so we workshopped an idea, and we were about to do something in August of 2017. And Trill Ballins DM me. He goes, hey, would you want to do a Star Wars, this before The Last Jedi came out, a Star Wars theory podcast? Just for fun. Put it out there so people think. And I said, yeah, sure. And we came up with this idea. We did it. People really liked it. And I said, what if you came on to our movie pod as a guest now and then? Boy, he had no idea. He bought in for 400 episodes.
Yeah, right.
But and he's finally leaving. He's hanging up the
I
cleats in
know,
September. We just literally recorded our 400th episode yesterday. And we did that. It started to pick up a little steam because Trill was the big deal and he was still tweeting. And then I quit my...
Smockin is still just one of
It
the
is.
best. You know, he did the tweet.
He did. He created a weird Twitter movement whenever he tweeted that. But then November rolled around and I quit my job. I said if I want to do this for real,
From GMA?
yeah, I can't work for GMA. I was making really good fucking money. I really shouldn't have quit. My parents were very supportive, but they were like, good luck.
Really?
Make it work. They were like, all right, move to California. My
What
parents
kind
were
of
living.
money are we talking?
I was making really solid 6-figure salary for someone who was tweeting. Like really like took a bath.
Yeah.
Took a bath in the sense that I'm making $0. Like I was
Right.
making t-shirt money.
Right.
I'm like T-Public. And so then I moved to my parents in California, lived there for 2 months, and then kept doing it, kept ramping it up, tried to just make noise on social, and then PFT called Trill in March. Coley had been on, we had Withers on, we had Robbie Fox on. They supported, they kind of pumped the tires for our show a little bit. And then
Right.
PFT called Trill in March of 2018, and I met PFT at the Big East tournament. And then I was in HQ2 meeting Erica, and then I worked here in May.
PFT kind of like co-signed it and were like, you know, these
Yeah,
these guys.
he knew
in
Trill. He's good for. I'd never met PFT.
Now, were you? Are you? Before LCB, were you like a movie nut?
Yeah, it was a hobby.
Okay, so it wasn't just like Because sometimes here it's like you almost got to pick your avenue and be like, all right, I'm going to be the movie guy. I'm going to be the makeup girl. And that's where I'm going to make it. Because if you have a specialization, it's much easier to get in, be the expert, whatever. But also sometimes, it's got to be genuine. It's got to be real.
Yeah, I was a sports guy. Like I was sports.
I was very surprised once I got to know you how much of a sports guy you were. I thought it was much more Star Wars, nerd stuff, movie stuff, not nearly as much sports. But it's equally. I mean, what would you say? If you had to pick one sport/franchise/genre of whatever, like what's your number one thing you're a fan of? Is it the Browns? Is it Star Wars?
It's probably Star Wars.
Star Wars.
It always has been. But like I was for a long time a sports like obsessed. I mean, you can like that's why like Brandon Walker and I can talk about like this era and like that's why my era of sports knowledge kind of stops when I like kind of I started doing more of like movie and news stuff like when I went to like news and shit. But like I did with like Jake Marsh, like I broadcasted games. Like I call games at Penn State. Like all my internships and stuff were all sports based.
If I were to give you a Browns Super Bowl or a Star Wars, let's say there's another trilogy of some sort that's as good as the first three. That's
different though, because that's got fan. Like I want to see my dad see a Browns Super Bowl so bad.
Okay,
like
so
I would kill for that.
Over like
that's
over legendary Star Wars comes out.
Yeah,
like,
and that's ever changing too, because like I didn't have the Browns growing up. Like they didn't exist. Like they didn't exist till I was really 8, because I wasn't conscious when they left.
Right.
I was 4.
Dead of night. Just.
I was an Indians fan. Like I was like Jim Tomei, Travis Fryman, like those.
Oh, what a team!
Those were my guys.
Yeah,
so now I would pick the Browns. Like I'm always a Star Wars guy. I've only become a Marvel fan recently.
Really? So that was like you didn't read comics and shit growing up?
Not at all. No,
wow,
the movies got me into it.
I would have guessed that.
And now I kind of like backtrack and I try to read. I can't read. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, it's hard.
Terrible.
It's hard to read comics.
Getting through Watchmen was like that. Was very proud of myself.
The book. Like,
a book with few words and many pictures. Yeah.
If you didn't read comics growing up, I think it's borderline impossible to truly dive into it at an older age.
It's tough. Yeah.
Because I got they made Dune into like a graphic novel as well, and rather than reading like the fat book. I was like, all right, let me get this little cheat code, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, because it's a story that does need a lot of description or whatever. And I think unless you're just used to it, reading the panels and having the artwork is kind of just like, I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to. It's also hard in general, I think, to really. And that's why I think you've done a good job at it, because I would have thought that you were a Marvel guy from the jump, because you do seem to know it so well. And usually I think you can tell the people who are picking up because of the movies and who like read it when they were kids.
It was when Thanos showed up at the end of Avengers. I'm with my buddy, and I was like, "What the fuck is that guy? Who is that?" And then I go down the rabbit hole, and I got obsessed. I was like,
funny.
I was like, "Holy shit!
Who's the purple guy?"
I go, "Wait, you're telling me this is?"
See, I would never have guessed that. I would have thought that he was the guy who was like, "Oh, that's Thanos. He's got the thing, and then this and that."
People at my feet are freaked out. I'm like,
"Yeah, what does that mean?
Like, what's going on here?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit. So you're doing a pretty good job, and I like to. So two things I've noticed so far. One, you saying like never satisfied, and 2, it sounds like you're a big snake until you make it guy.
Oh, absolutely.
And those are
fucking the GMA job was.
I love the feeling. It's kind of like a professional version of sports. If you're not good enough to be a professional athlete, when you're up like bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and the game's on you, the feeling of working at a job where you're underqualified and you're like, I gotta just figure out a way to like snake it by, like get these people to think I know what I'm doing and figure it out. The pressure's on. You got to perform. You got to present. You got to do things that you don't know how to do. You got to like talk to people that should not be talking to you. And when you snake it, it's like it feels awesome.
My third week, they're like, hey, we need my third week, and like it was just this whirlwind. You're with these massive names who are just anchoring the show.
Right.
Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos. Tony Reale had just gotten hired.
Nice.
So Tony Reale was like my right-hand man
really?
for my first couple months. And
cool.
he's
awesome.
The fucking man.
He's so nice, man. He,
the best.
I got to hang out with him very briefly, but a couple times at Fordham during our spring weekend. We tossed around the football, and that was more when he was still just doing sports, because he was a big WFUV guy, and it was like the amount of guys who went through Fordham's broadcasting program is fucking out of control. Where did you go?
Penn State.
Penn State.
And actually, the guy who ran my sports journalism school at Penn State, he used to host the show that Tony Reale, he's a really old sports writer, Malcolm Moran. He hosted the show that Tony Reale hosted, though, when he was like on radio there and stuff.
Yeah,
and so it's all like, so it's so deeply
the
connected.
Fordham, it's called One on One, and I think it's literally the longest like sports talk show, I think, like in the world or something.
I believe that, yeah.
Because it's just been going on forever. I dated back to Vin Scully, like a one-on-one sports talk. But they invented that shit.
He was a big reason why I was like, felt comfortable. Like, my second week, we had a Taylor Swift concert in Times Square.
Oh, shit.
Like, put a social plan together. And we just got
what
Snapchat.
The fuck does that mean?
I was like, I don't know what the fuck.
A social plan for
these celebrities walking in and out, and you got to and you have to learn. And that's why I actually just joked about this in the podcast. Our person who does all our talent and booking, Kelly, she gives me shit all the time because I'm never excited about guests. And it's not out of like, I don't care. I'm trained that way.
Professionalism.
Like I was told when I got GMA, like the biggest thing is like, if you care about celebrities, I go, yeah, they go, you now need to not care about celebrities. Like they will walk down on set, they will talk to you, you will look at them, you have to act insanely normal to them. Like Adam Sandler walked down on set one day. This was crazy. This guy hits me on the back and he goes, "How the fuck we doing this morning?" And it was Adam Sandler. And like, holy shit! Like I should shit my pants. Like that's crazy. That's Adam Sandler. But you got to be like, "Oh, how you doing?" You got to just be really nice and keep her. I met Anna Kendrick. I absolutely pissed myself.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd. But like,
what
you had to. That's why I don't get excited anymore.
What do you think was your most challenging celebrity encounter? Either being you were a total like fanboy, geeked out about it, or they were just an asshole, or what was like the one thing where you were like, oh my god, this person.
Geeked out, Paul Rudd and Anna Kendrick for sure. I had a huge crush on Anna Kendrick, big celebrity crush.
Man, when Pitch Perfect was cooking, Anna Kendrick was my girl.
Into the Woods, she was great.
Tweeted back
took a picture with me. It was awesome.
I was like, oh, she's tweeting at me. Oh my god.
Yep. Paul Rudd though.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want him to like me, and he did. It was one time. We talked about Tim and Eric, which I was like, man, what if he doesn't remember doing the Tim and Eric bit? And he loved it. The hardest was Gene Simmons for sure. Just
because he's a fucking.
Just like I think everything I said to him, he was like, "You're an idiot." Like he said, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, let's go." And I'm like, Gene Simmons is fucking yelling at me. Like I don't like.
Yeah, that's
like what are we doing here?
Right.
Shaq was the best though.
Always.
Shaq remembered me
Diesel,
consistently.
Man.
I have a collage. The first time he came on, we had this like picture frame where you take a picture of guests, and sometimes I'd get in them and they'd drag me in there, and he came over and he choked me, pretended to choke me, and the next time he came, he goes, "Hey, we got to do a sequel." So he did another one where he choked me a little more. They did another one, looks like he's killing me, and the last one, I got to pull it up.
You don't have to pull it right now, but we definitely got to put it in there.
Yeah, the last one, he points to me down the hall and he said, "Come here." And he takes a chair and he goes, "Get up on the chair." And he made me look like he was like force choking me up. It was crazy. So most of the celebrity interactions were great. Gene Simmons, still fine. The worst one is my two woats.
I remember you telling me one of them.
Chewbacca mom.
Yes, oh, that was the one.
Oh my God.
Chewbacca mom.
The bane of my existence.
Who is the definition of 15 minutes, maybe 15 seconds of fame.
And then Tony Robbins, the fucking life coach guy.
Yeah.
He was just a piece of shit.
Which is like, funny to think, because, that's the one guy who should be a complete like sweetheart, you know.
There is a moment. Actually, my boss had told me something like, "Hey, you got to be careful," because I was doing like a Periscope with him. He was doing this thing. He was answering questions, and he had this whole thing about like he's like, "If you have mental health problems, like I don't believe in that. Like I don't." He's like, "It's about your mindset." And I looked off to I was like, "Are you fucking?" And I made a face that he definitely saw him. I was like, "Hey, be careful." I'm like, "This fucking douchebag."
Fuck that, especially coming from like a life coach.
Yeah, what the fuck? You walk on coals for $3,000 your fucking life camp. So I don't like Tony Robbins and I don't like Chewbacca mom.
Chewbacca mom. It's like, bitch, I have talked to like the cream of the crop, the most important people in the world, and you are the worst of all. She
was so nice when she got there. She's like, "Oh, I'd love to come back and do stuff." Remember, she had the biggest fucking video like ever
at the time. Yeah.
Like, I'd love to come back and do all these things. And then we gave her a box of fucking Star Wars toys. And if you never seen an ego boost, because then they go, "Hey, can we have your number?" She goes, "Oh, I'll keep in touch. Like, I think maybe I need to start." And we were like, what the fuck happened? 5 minutes ago, you were the best, and then she was an asshole.
Fuck that.
Chewbacca mom.
That's some obnoxious shit.
Get out of here.
Well, you actually, let's go back to the college stuff. So you were in school, Penn State.
Yeah.
This is where I'm confused. Are you Penn State? Are you Connecticut? Are you Texas?
So I was born in Connecticut, 91.
Are you an Army brat? What's going on?
Nah, my dad worked in the golf business.
In the golf business?
Yeah, worked at a golf company.
Okay.
91 through 04, lived in Connecticut.
91 through 04.
Moved to Texas, 2004.
When were you born?
91.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah,
okay.
from birth.
Okay.
Moved to Texas in the middle of 8th grade.
That's a move.
It's tough.
To connect, Northeast
Election
to Texas
Day 04.
is no fucking joke.
Nah.
That's like a paradigm shift in your life.
So my original group of friends in Texas, they're still my best friends in the whole world.
Yeah,
A group of 5 friends. Moved to Texas. That was very hard. That sucked.
Was that I'm sad and miserable. Why are you
it
leaving
was.
Mom and Dad?
It
I
was.
hate you.
It was tough. It was
Yeah.
really tough. I'm like Texas.
Yeah.
Now it's my favorite place. I mean,
So
I
wait,
fucking
you were
love Austin.
13?
Yeah, I was 13.
Which is like,
What a time to
starting
move.
to go through puberty and shit, starting to like some girls, starting to find your way, and then yoink, you're going to a place now that is
where everybody
socially,
plays football.
Yeah, I mean, like
I don't play football.
No, I mean, yeah, like sports-wise, you're cooked.
The only sport I played, and I wasn't. So I played golf, and this is when I was like a golf. Like I was a golfer. Like that's what I did. But I did play lacrosse a lot. But then in Texas, like it wasn't.
They don't give a fuck about that shit. Yeah.
So that was brutal. And then my dad's from Cleveland. That's why I'm a Cleveland sports fan.
All right, so I mean, it was all over the place.
Mm-hmm. And then I ended up going to Penn State because it was either that or Arizona State. And this sports journalism professor at Penn State told me, he's like, what's like the one thing you want to do while you're here? Like you could do anything you want to do, internship, go anywhere. I said, I'm gonna go to the Olympics in 2012. He's like,
so you were always an Olympics fan.
And Penn State. I love Penn State, but like they're one of the schools like, oh, we want all the out-of-staters. And they hype up their fucking shit. And they come here and they talk shit about the company I work for now. That's a whole different fucking story.
What happened?
The Penn State, they talk all this shit about us.
Oh, yeah, they canceled on
I've kept relatively tight-lipped on that until recently.
They had booked like Dave and Erica to speak and then reneged
that's
on
a
it
whole
or
different
something
story.
like
But he's great. And so he said, if you come here, we'll make it happen. You'll go to the Olympics.
Really?
And I did.
That's, I mean, like,
Malcolm
like
Moran.
almost like a recruiting.
He's not there anymore. He's at Indiana. But yeah.
So they.
I wasn't gonna get a scholarship from Penn State at all.
It wasn't a scholarship, but they did make assurances.
He said if he goes 2012 between your junior and senior, he goes if you work at it, he goes, I promise you'll go to the Olympics.
Wow.
And
Good on them.
He actually brought it back. This guy Malcolm, we were sitting on the River Thames at like 1 a.m. He was drinking beer after we'd watched USA basketball beat Nigeria by like 80 points.
Yeah.
Melo had like the greatest number. And we're sitting on the River Thames in London. He goes, you think you'd be here? I go, I believed you, but honestly, like this is fun. Yeah. I thought I might like see like a week of the Olympics interning for NBC. Like I'm working for Team USA. Like this is the fucking. And I talk about the time and I get shit about it on Twitter. Like, did you go to the Olympics? I go, yeah, I fucking talk about it. It was the coolest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Like it was incredible.
I mean,
he lived up to the promise.
Fordham's program was amazing because we got access to the real teams.
I'd broadcast the NFL draft, and Fordham would always be the other radio
always.
station there,
That WFUV flag was, right away. You're doing like I was doing Mets spring training and Mets minor leagues. You work your way up, you get to cover the big league teams, and then they do send you. You'll appreciate this because it's UConn. They sent me to the NBA draft in the Sheraton Hotel here in New York, and it was when Andrew Bynum was in the draft.
Oh my God!
And it was when remember Calhoun crushed him. And was this guy wouldn't even play for UConn for me. Like, I don't know why he's going pro. And I asked him that straight up. Because I remember I went in there being like, fuck this guy. I don't think he should be getting drafted either. Like, what do I know? But I asked him in front of like everyone. I was like, Jim Calhoun says like you can't even play for UConn. Like, what makes you think you're ready for the league? I don't even remember his answer, but I remember people gasping. Like,
I love that.
I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go. Let's stir this shit up.
If Jim Calhoun says it, though, I gotta side with Calhoun.
And then I talked to Deshaun Stevenson as well. He was in that draft, sitting all alone. They had these like round tables set up, kind of in not a green room, like a banquet hall, and everyone else was getting attention, and Deshaun Stevenson was sitting all alone. And I was like, this is kind of weird. I went over and started talking to him. He was a fucking crazy person.
And proved it.
Super intense, weird answers. And I was like, now I know why you were alone. Like, see you later. But so we got to do a lot of cool shit. But I don't even know if Fordham sent people to the Olympics. That's a monster thing for a college program.
It was insane. It was, and then it was like they're like the things that I got to do and things that I got to see. It was like, I mean, I was just sitting there at the finish line of 100 meter watching. Like I saw. We got there like they're like you get your stuff done in the morning, go wherever the fuck you want. Like go to literally any event you want.
So you were always into the Olympics?
Yeah, I was a huge fan from like Athens. Like I liked it. I just like it's just I was obsessed with sports.
As a younger kid, though,
it's just a lot of
like
sports.
A weird thing. Yeah, I mean,
all I cared about.
You truly were just into like athletic competition.
That's all I cared about.
I don't even know if I would categorize myself as a sports fan, especially you get into a place like this and you learn, PFT, you'll sit down and watch like any fucking sporting event, any football game in the world. I'm like a Mets fan, a Jets fan,
well, that's
Knicks
me
fan.
now. Minus the Olympics, but I'm with you. I'm the same with you.
Like I like my teams, and if they're not on, I'm probably gonna watch a movie.
I'll watch the tournament. I'll watch, but I don't.
Sure.
But NFL doesn't count. That's
but then to rewind it to where you were at, you're like, I'll watch shot put. I'll watch any competition.
I only cared about sports, so the Olympics was a big deal. and I just wanted to go, like the ceremony, and like that was
pageantry. You're a big pageantry guy.
The ceremony, yeah, it is the pageantry.
Yep,
The ceremony was that was the most surreal thing I've ever seen.
Was that like Muhammad Ali?
No.
What year was that?
I saw that.
Imagine. What was your ceremony like?
London, like Beckham like drove it in on a fucking boat. But then the flame comes in, you can feel it from across the stadium, and it's just you're like, holy shit, the Olympic flame. Like,
I do get down with some of that stuff.
Well, you too. You like
I'll never but like people were surprised because everyone thinks I hate everything. But I get down with it. I think it's cool.
It's like
that
the country and they're competing. It's like
that's why I thought it was. People were like crushing Team USA, clowning them, and even the Simone Biles stuff. And then when the women's soccer team lost, like so many people were rooting against them because of the political shit. And it's like it's your country, man. Whatever happened to rooting for Team USA?
They're still playing for them. Like if they didn't, like they wouldn't play.
Come on, man. That was bullshit.
No, so I was always obsessed. So that was I'll never top that. And I talked to a couple of people I used to work for still there, and I joke like, no matter what I do, like that was the most perfect scenario. Like have someone just say at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Go wherever you want.
Yeah.
Oh, you're done your work?
Free pass.
Go watch Usain Bolt. Yeah, go.
What about, let me hit you with another hypothetical, Olympics, something like that, like another Olympics, or some sort of behind the scenes to Marvel's, next, or Star Wars' next, whatever it may be.
If it would be the experience I had at the last at London, I would pick that every time.
Can't be tough.
It's just unbelievable.
What if you were a part of like the end game Infinity War?
I would
the
be
finale of the 20
be in the
movies.
movie.
Maybe not. Maybe you'd be an extra in it, but you're also like, what if you were just right hand man to? I don't know. Was that Feige? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just watch like the whole process where you were like, almost documenting.
If I was in the movie, I'd pick the movie.
Okay. No,
but that's how much
not in the movie.
That's how crazy the Olympics.
Yeah, you really love it that much.
And I would actually, you could give me one event, I would see the 100 meters again.
If I could relive, it's just the ultimate. It's just like
the Usain Bolt 100 meters is
run. It's actually the fucking 4x1 is really cool.
And that was
that's like
the one that went viral was the one I was at.
Yeah, that is so fast. Everyone going balls to the wall for 25 meters at a time.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fucking.
It's
nuts.
indescribable because you'd feel I went to some awesome sporting events in my life. Like the Super Bowl and stuff, but like Penn State football games. Like I've seen crowds. But there's this energy because it has to be quiet, and every single person respects being quiet. And they say everyone hushes up, and the energy sucks out, and you almost feel like numb. And when that gun goes off, it's just an explosion.
Yeah,
and it lasts for 9 seconds.
I know, it's so.
It's
fast.
just like you just can't. So I would pick that just because of that.
Very cool. So the sports transition to nerd, let's call it nerd transition, started when would you say? Because of the internet and
I started documenting
stuff,
movies and stuff in 2006. I forget what year it is. My first spreadsheet I started putting together.
Let me ask you this. So Jay Hay, producer of Starting Nine, he used to have marble notebooks. He would make up his own sports league. It was baseball. Team names, everything. And he would just simulate a league. So he would just write down what happened. He would have records and standings. It was almost like a computer simulation, but not. It was just his own brain where he was living in this fantasy world of a sports team. Did you have anything like that? Right. For sports, right?
The amount of spreadsheets I could uncover, mostly through video games.
You'd be a guy like that.
Mostly through video games, though.
Okay.
I would build the league out in a video game. I would have it in spreadsheets.
Like a Madden or some shit like that where you could play coach or whatever.
Yeah, actually, if you go, and this actually, people tweeted at me about this when Big Cat started playing with Doug's. If you go to NCAA Football 04, the last most downloaded rosters, it's at Jeff D. Lowe.
Really?
Yeah, that's the main named rosters.
Wow.
But it's funny, I have my friends' names buried in there somewhere, but I uploaded it because some people wanted it, and that's the last remaining roster. So I would do, the last thing I did, I actually uploaded it, and this was when I took off my year between school and working. I did a World Cup of college football, and I posted on a video game message board. I just played through it and I posted the house. This is kind of fucking fun.
I knew you'd be one of those guys.
It's just story. I think for me, it's I look back on it. It's why do I like movies and stuff? It's just storytelling.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask you. Did you do anything like that for movies? Because it is kind of you're building out a world in a sense of
Not really. No, it's always been just ranking and rating. I love going through and just I love lists with movies. Yeah. That's you look at the website.
Yeah.
The fact that the point of movierankings.net initially was I just wanted a place when people ask me what's your top blank, I could just send them there. And if they wanted to filter by what's your top comedy of the decade, you could do that. So there's nowhere you can really do that, at least this in depth. Became something cooler than that, and I hope it keeps growing, but like that was the whole point.
To me, the main point would be getting reliable movie opinions from someone who doesn't have their head up their own ass.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and a place to show where things are streaming. A mainstream.
Yeah. There's an informational aspect to it, but the reviews are like, there's a reason why my favorite movies, without fail, are ones where there's the largest gap between audience and critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And so I'm like, give me the audience rating, and you guys are like the audience guys. I can rely on that.
I never did anything crazy like fake. I mean, like I played with like Star Wars toys when I was a kid, but never like.
So all this time that in the beginning when you are LCB, you're the movie guys, you're like, that's your thing.
Yeah.
Were you kind of like, I'm not. There's a lot more to me, or like it's not my main thing, but I'll take that.
Well, even in the beginning, I was like, hey, like I'm a Browns fan. Like if they do,
like hey, that's what I mean. Like,
and
was it kind of
my first year? Remember, they sort of like Baker got drafted. So like they sort of became that odd relevancy. So I wanted like, well, I got to make sure like there's a little more to me than that.
Yeah.
So luckily, like I was able to kind of.
I guess that was my question. Is like, did you just tweet about it enough? Did you talk to people here? Hey, let me get on that show and talk about this. Let me.
Yeah, like PFT knew a little bit, and then like I think because like they were relevant, people saw it. Like I remember like we did a rundown, you, me, and like Che.
Yes.
For the Browns.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Game.
Yes.
So no, I just like I was like, gotta make sure they know I do a tad more than just movie. They want to box myself in because like then that goes back to the never satisfied thing. It's like I get very bored easily of stuff that I do, and if I'm not just making something, and it's a problem at times. It's like, all right, just stop making shit,
brother.
It's
I'm right there with
stop.
you. To me though, like there are times people here say like you're spread too thin. We want you to just focus on like one thing. And if I thought that tomorrow, if I stopped everything else and just did KFC Radio, that it would be as big as Call Her Daddy, I would. But I don't think there's like, because I'm just shooting the shit, you could tell me that maybe I'd have more time to promote it better.
Yeah.
The promotional aspect would grow. But when you do what I do, which is just like shoot the shit and go, I'm like, the show won't change that much if I don't do these other things. Maybe my brain will be a little sharper, a couple of my jokes will be a little better, my references, whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, I'm going to have a conversation about the Mets at some point today. Let me record it. I'm going to talk about, crazy hypotheticals with my friends. Let me record it. I'm going to talk about this. I'll talk about, So to me, I can do all that, and it doesn't wear me down. I mean, it wears me down, but I can do, 4 or 5 things. But I think the main driver is that never satisfied feeling. And I think it's a great thing to a point, and then when you cross that point, it's a horrible thing to have.
I mean, like I did 3 things during quarantine. We did the movie watch-alongs.
Yep.
We did the dozen.
Such a good time doing that.
Which was the dozen was just a supplement.
The dozen was
radio.
like in the beginning, just like fucking around. Almost,
it was, which is what it's become. Is makes me roll my eyes in a good way. It's like, oh my God, what have I done?
You created a monster.
Yeah, I really have.
Yep.
Again, love the fans, but have created many monsters. Yeah. And we did fictional debates, which I will.
Oh man, you guys love those.
I will stand by. That's one of the funniest things at this company in the last 2 years.
You guys, it's
very
Ken
short.
Jack, Trill and Coley,
KB
and Nick, just.
And then another Trill.
Let weird brains be weird brains.
It was.
And you guys coming up with like starting
collectively
fives,
the hardest I've ever laughed in my life.
Yeah.
For
you
9
guys
weeks.
loved it.
Yeah. So but that's the thing. It's like you do this stuff, and then one day, like me stopping the movie watch-alongs was like, I have to stop.
Yeah.
Like, stop. They were fun. It's like stop doing these.
So
focus on something. Like just focus on one thing.
And that we've definitely had our projects that we've tested and failed or tested and stopped. And what sucks is around these parts, there are so many people who like have one and it's meteoric and they rise and that's it. That, you almost get like made fun of here or it's viewed as a failure. And to me, it's like, I will never stop floating things out there.
Yeah.
I want to keep trying, especially like I tried this out. It didn't work. All of a sudden I reworked it a little bit and it became 1 Minute Man. It's like, well, if I didn't do it over here in this form, I wouldn't have it over here. And I think there's like something to the fact, almost like I said about we're being weirdos on the internet. And it's like, so I'm going to try this watch along and I'm going to try this thing and that thing and we'll see what works. I don't think that should be looked down on or like you need to focus on one thing or, hey, you failed. It's like, let me just try some shit. Let's just fuck around. But when it becomes work and you do have to focus on some things, it's like, I'm sure you would love if you could just do fictional debates and make all your money that way,
Exactly.
and all your success that way, then yeah, let's do it. But that's not
how it works. And that's my thing is, like, I would love, like, the Dozens, it's doing well. Like, I like LCB, but, like, it's not anywhere near where, like, you could have that level of, like, you know, the Chiclets brand or the floor player, you guys, or Parmate. But, so maybe if I was in that realm, I wouldn't have this same mindset. But my mindset here is, like, I don't understand. This is not a knock at anyone in particular, but it's like, I don't understand being here and not just constantly wanting to try something.
I'm with you, man. With the
Like,
amount of resources
and
you
maybe
have
that's because I was just at, like, and this is, again, not a shot at coming from ABC, but, like, I was at a job for a couple years where it was cool. I met a lot of cool people, but I felt so fucking restricted. And, like, you don't have the freedom to do anything. And I don't know, like, if everyone realizes it. I'm sure, I know many do, but, like, here, it's like, it ain't like it. There really is. Well, it's not even like there's not many other places. There's almost no places.
There's
I'd
no
be
place
stunned
like
if there was one.
There's no place that competes really with us the way we do it. There's no competition. There's no contemporary really. There never has been. There was a minute where we thought about Bro Bible. There was a minute where we thought about Total Frat Move. ESPN kind of, because we're just competing against the same demo. Like, nobody has ever really come up and challenged us. And then internally there's no one who lets. And there's good and bad, where it's like, just take it and go. Like, a lot of people need direction. A lot of people need to be pointed here and helped along. But the people who are just going to take it and run with it, they're never going to find a better place than this. And I think there's a clear divide. You can always see people who had a job before this and people who did not. And if you came right out of school, you might be thriving, but you don't have the.
So I'm always really impressed the people here who didn't have a job before, but do a billion fucking things.
And still have the good work ethic and
the
all
Bob
that.
Foxes, the Rias. It's like, I don't know if they realize it. Maybe they don't.
Impressive.
But, like, what they're doing, it's like it's a good thing you're doing that, because, like, you're really taking advantage of an opportunity that is unmatched.
I know people like Rhea, man.
People hate when we say that, right? Like, oh, you're just sucking your own dicks, Barstool. Like, it's fucking true, though.
And then tell me the example otherwise. You know what I mean? I always tell Rhea, man, she's gonna, like, by the time Rhea's like 30, she's gonna be like, I have 12 years of, like, on-air experience.
Crazy.
Not like 10 of them where I was folding shirts and then 2 of them. It's like, I've been on the air my entire 20s. Nobody's gonna have that same experience as her. This place is unparalleled when it comes to that. But then, there's the people who don't recognize that and maybe just come in and they're like, all right, I have this one show, this one podcast does well, whatever. It's like, you have access to all this shit, all this infrastructure, and some of the funniest minds like in the world. Go.
Give it a whirl. And, like, being handsome here is cool. Like, Barstool's America, I was just given that. And I'm very grateful for it. It was fucking amazing.
Things just fall in your lap sometimes. Go after, earn it. But also it fell in your lap because you, like, showed you're capable and people knew you could handle it and knew you're going to want to do it and you're hungry and all that shit.
I know, it's just like, I just like creating shit. I don't know.
Was there
people that are entertained by it?
No, I'm with that too. And that's where, like, I don't think of it as, like, a failure when something doesn't take off. It's like, we still did some cool shit or had some cool guests or whatever.
Like, don't you always like when you do something that you're kind of like, kind of suck, but then one person likes it?
Yeah, like the neat shit.
Yeah.
And I actually think that some of my favorite content has not been my most successful stuff.
Exactly.
Some of, like, the best blogs that I wrote were ones that were not the most read. I used to write leftovers recaps. Me and, like, 6 people watched that show. And I poured my heart and soul into those. And I loved writing those recaps. And it would take up so much time. And I knew it wasn't worth it. And I still did it. Same thing here when they're like, you gotta, like, trim this or trim that. I'm like, no, I like doing it. I like doing We Gotta Believe It. I don't care how many people listen to it. And that's another divide. There's people who had a job and people didn't. And people who are doing it because it's work. People who are doing it because they just like making shit. And I think that, when you come from a school or a childhood or whatever that's creative and you have the marble notebook that you make, or you make your for your video games, it translates so much better here. Was it tough to? Was there any sort of drama, or was it hard to? It's not like LCB is over by any means, but it's shifting.
Shifting quite a bit.
Formats, and that probably had to do a lot with the success of the dozen. Was it kind of like, guys, I got to focus on this?
No, it's really just because Trill left.
Yeah,
but honestly, so Trill, the only positive of Trill leaving is that. Love the guy, but our recording times are very
crazy
strict.
because they're around his, like,
he's got a
personal
kid.
life,
He's
right?
married. He's got a real fucking job. Like he's got, and it's ramped up, and he's talked about it like he's got a lot on his plate. We can record our podcast in the middle of the day now. Oh my
it's
God.
a life changer.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Like, the fact that I don't have to Kendrick's like, the fact that I can have a Sunday night is amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that, so
he was really the impetus for the change? I thought it was like, listen,
no, it's
the dozen is a monster.
It's because he's leaving.
I got to focus on this.
He's leaving, and I said earlier, the one thing that scares me is I never want to do something that gets no criticism or no, like, the other thing is I never want to do a worse version of something people liked and have it fucking die.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken Jack and I could definitely hold the show, not with, like, there's just things Trill brings up. Like we did an ad read yesterday about, like, a fucking ball trimmer, and I said there was like a headlight on it. He goes, is it like the KC headlights and like a G? I'm like, no one in the world is gonna make that reference,
right.
besides him. And that actually, in that moment, like, time slowed down for me. I'm like,
that was clever.
That's why we're
funny.
No, I
Yeah.
said that's why we're changing the show, because like, I don't
right.
like that. We don't have that anymore. So like, we're gonna do a different type of movie podcast. We're gonna have that Chris Castellani kid who's. That kid, he's amazing.
He has got a weird brain for movies.
He's got amazing. And I think we may
yeah.
actually have like some differing opinions. And we're doing another show that's like just like a bracket show with Nick, KB.
I mean,
you
really have tapped into the trivia, bracket, voting.
I love that. Brackets is my real.
Yeah, brackets. You got that, beautiful mind brain where you like to see all the spreadsheets.
Yes,
you like to
I
see
do.
all the brackets. I mean, one of the best things about you is that I think you have harnessed your weird brain as good as anybody has. My favorite Jeff D. Lowe story, swear to God, my favorite story, when you guys were going out to Long Island for Pop Punk, and you're on Long Island Railroad, and they've got like the 6-seater, and the seats are tiny, and they face each other, and Jeff D. Lowe is sitting there, and he's got his backpack on his lap, and he's just kind of sitting there, and Feidelberg wanted to come and like sit next to you, right? And there's a bunch of people and shit, and Feitz is kind of scooting through, and he kind of leans over you like, let me go sit there. And Jeff just goes, come on, you knew I was going to be weird about this, right? You just knew I'm going to have an issue with this.
I was not, there was no world I was sliding in.
No chance.
There's just.
Like, come on, this is not, I'm a guy, you probably, because you have a million reasons, I can't touch this, I can't see that, I can't be stuck here, you are a very particular dude who knows exactly, you need your haircut every week.
I said this on Barstool Sports America. One of the people who works for MB kept saying, the D is for drama, because I was just like, we had so much time on set, and I said, I'm not dramatic, I'm just particular.
You're particular,
That's
you're
what
thorough,
it is.
You need it to be certain ways for the good of the show or the product or whatever, but when you harness that, and then, when you do make these crazy spreadsheets for the Olympics, you do cover everything for entertainment, when you make a whole movie database, when you come up with a million trivia questions, that your beautiful mind has been like unleashed in a lot of ways.
There's just no shame barrier. I don't know what, like, there's just somebody, who was it? It was either Nick. I think Nick said it on the Yak. Nobody is unapologetically themselves like me, which and I take fucking pride in that. I don't care. That's
the way to be, man.
I'm gonna dress so I dress. I'm gonna do what I do. That's just.
You know what it is? There are plenty of people who like play a character or have a theme or a bit or whatever, and more power to them. But to me, it would be exhausting to have to keep that up all the time.
Absolutely.
And my thought is this, let's say my ceiling is here because I just am who I am. And if I made up a character to something, maybe my ceiling would be here, but I wouldn't do it that well. Like, trying to do something I'm not, my ceiling would actually be a little bit lower.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd rather have a ceiling that's a little bit lower, but actually a little bit higher than if I tried to fake it. And then that way I can just be myself. And maybe that loses a handful of fans, but the fans I do have, I never have to worry about losing them because I can do this forever.
Exactly.
Because it's just me. If you came in and dressed a different way, acted a different way, you'd run out of gas. You'd be like, I don't want to do this. Now you can do it forever, man.
Exactly. It's like I never would want to do something that just isn't. It's being genuine.
Yes.
I don't.
And people can feel it and sense
exactly,
it.
and that's the thing. And like in social media, you're just more seen.
Yeah.
Like definitely. It's just like now you really can't. You just can't fucking hide it anymore.
No, and yeah, when you start tweeting about shit and reacting to stuff, like, oh, all right,
yeah,
he actually is like this, and I'm gonna follow him for that reason, and then you open up a whole like breadth of topics that people. But it's funny, as much as you say that, I guess everything you do kind of is personal as well. But I feel like you're kind of like a mystery man in your personal life. Like everything I know about you is professional and content.
I'm pretty private.
And like I know movies are still like part of your personal life, but everything else is pretty like behind closed doors. Like I didn't even know. I'm like, where are you from? Where did you live? What's your family like? Was that a conscious decision to like keep it out?
Yeah, like family stuff. Like I keep them out. Like other things, personal.
Yeah, I have
life.
no idea what your sibling situation is. Your dating
small
situation,
family.
your family. I feel like you could be like, yeah, my parents are in jail. They murdered somebody. I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, man.
I might have used that for like inspirational content.
Yeah,
I'd have been like,
exactly.
hey, we should. No, we I decided.
Maybe you're the murderer. I mean, you have the particular brain.
I just
because
don't have
you're a serial
family.
killer.
Yeah,
you slaughtered them.
I don't know. I was like, I don't really want to. Like, I don't really post about my family and stuff. Like, I'll say things now and then. Like, talk to my dad, like the Browns and stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just.
Yeah. Oh, it's the smart way to go.
And it's like.
No, I mean, I kind of was the guinea pig in a lot of ways for Barstool.
That's why I had to explain the fucking crying with the dozen.
Yeah.
I was like, God.
Yeah, you had an emotional moment.
I had to explain that because I was like, I cannot. And people still think it. They're like, people who want to like go after and say things like, "Oh, you're the guy that cried with trivia." I didn't cry because of trivia. That's why like, I wrote a blog. But like, I guess I got to fucking. Yeah. I got to be a little personal for like 5 minutes here.
Well, that was what it was just kind of the culmination of a lot of things for you.
Yeah, it was one. It was just a shitload of fucking work.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's just
I slept 30 minutes the night before on the part of my take couch. Like it was a lot. The last match, it takes like a day to write a dozen match. The last match I wrote in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's one point I hit the fucking table. It was me, Brandon, PFT, KB, and Nick. And I hit the him. I said, "This isn't going to happen." Like, what are you talking about? I go, "This is not happening. We're not
it's over, Rip.
I go, end the show. The crew's gone."
Yeah.
It was that, but also like I had a lot of family stuff going on at that point. I've dealt with a lot of just hell shit that peaked during that moment. And I had a really personal thing kind of fall apart right around there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was because of just how much I work. Because I do work, like I just work a lot. And that's not like a brag. I just like to work. I just enjoy it.
Was there any thought, I mean, I find it to be, on the one hand, I regret how much of my personal life is out there because it obviously became a mess in a lot of ways. But also it's like therapy to me where it's like, I'll get on the air and I say this shit and I feel like I got it out. And then I won't have a moment where I bottled it all up and ended up crying because it, like, I told you guys about this episode.
Getting shit for it almost broke me a little bit.
I mean,
but then when Dave talked about the Dave Portnoy show and he's like, I read his blog, it's stuff going on. I'm like, whatever, don't cry. I was like, actually, that helped a bit. I was like, all right, whatever, I don't care. Like, it was like, he played off funny, but.
Also, I mean, it's like, guys like Dave aren't going to ever cry over a work thing, but
it was played off in a way where it was like, I'm cool with that. Like, it was like, whatever, like that, like, it was a good chuckle. I got over, but I was this moment where I was like, kind of wish I could like say why I broke, like why I cried.
So have you ever thought about it? Like where it's just like I am gonna.
I've been open, not as much like Robbie Fox is pretty good about like he's very open about like mental health stuff. Like I've gone through like an insane amount of stuff, and it's just not something I'm overly comfortable talking about. But people listen to like the podcast, they know. Like I've alluded to it quite a bit. The really personal life stuff, and I really won't even say it here. It sucked. It really sucked, and I had a lot of regrets, and I fucked shit up. Not in like a malicious way, but I blew some things because I took work probably too seriously, and it kind of overran
Work-life balance, brother.
And I still don't have it, and I got better at it this summer.
Work-life balance is literally the most important thing in the world when you really break it down.
I've realized that.
When you really break it down, it's like, because you have like, let's say 3 things in life. You have like family, work, and like a social life, romantic life, whatever, Yeah. That's like really it. And the way that you balance those things is going to determine how happy, sad, stressful, whatever your life is going to be. And when you, the evil, cruel joke of it all is that like something's always going to miss out.
Exactly.
And I kind of learned with my divorce, it was like I was trying to do both and you end up losing at both, Because I spent enough time at work that at home, it was like, all you do is work. And I spent enough time at home that people like Dave were like, oh, Couch Clancy never gets off his couch. And I'm like, I'm trying so hard at both, and both think that I'm a failure. So you almost have to realize that something's got to give, or you got to go all in on one thing. And it sounds like, it's something that upset you. So, I can't determine if it was right or wrong. But you, the dozen and all the shit that happened professionally is because you went for it over here.
It justified it a little bit, this thing. Like, again, the respect situation, I won't go into it, but like everyone knows, like, my dog. Like, most of it doesn't live with me anymore. Like, if you want to take your leaps there, put it that way.
Yeah.
It sucked. And so that family stuff, my stuff, like, health-wise, and the work, it was a moment I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, you're just like,
this fucking stupid-ass tournament better be the best goddamn thing I've ever... It ended up being, it had its issues here and there, but overall it was a very big success.
That's got to be the crowning achievement of your career.
So it was like, and then I'd email people like, hey, if you're in the tournament, if you can stay. Like Big Cat drove in from like Brooklyn, not on a non-PMT night.
Right.
Fran stayed back. Brand, like everyone stayed back and was there.
Because they knew too.
So I'm getting ready to do it. I'm like, just don't fucking cry yet. Like I know I was gonna cry. I know I was gonna cry after because like I was so emotionally just spent.
I love that.
I was done. And I'm not one who cries much often anyway, but I was like, I was so done. I was like, I know I'm not gonna be able to control it.
Yeah.
Like,
if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Yeah.
So I was like, just don't fucking cry now. Just say thanks for showing up. Thanks for driving back in.
You can cry 2 minutes
and I was
later.
Like, just don't fucking, like, just cry after. And I fucking
no.
I had no, like, the second I said, like, I just want to thank everyone, it was like, it was gone.
It's over.
I was like, that's gone.
I think when you reach that point, it takes all of your brain power and emotional power to block the crying. And then when you start delivering your speech and your brain has to start thinking a little bit, you can't do both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't do the speech and control your crying. It's got to be one or the other. And so when you try to balance both, something's going to lose. But you know what it is too? Like what we do, whether it's a trivia show or a podcast or a fake reality show or a live podcast, whatever it is, doesn't quite have the same respect level of other jobs and media. Like if you got up there and cried after a movie set wrapped, I feel like people would be more inclined to be like, oh yeah, like this was a movie that we put on and everybody worked hard on it. And granted, a movie is a larger scale, but there are certain things where if you cried professionally, it would be acceptable.
Oh, absolutely.
But here, because
we're like a Murrow Award in the newsroom, like
yeah. If you won an award for a newspaper thing that you wrote, a journalism thing, people would be like, oh yeah, he cried. But because it's here where we're just joking around and blah, 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 you don't expect it. But you pour your heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
It just happens to be fun.
There's a lot
It happens to be silly. It happens to be funny. So you get this, you cried about this trivia thing. It's like, fuck yeah, man, this is my life.
There's a lot of, like, again, it was a lot and, like, sacrifices and, like, not in a way of, like, I didn't go to fucking war, but it was a lot where
but it's,
you're like, God damn, like this.
For the internet,
and then it did. It ended up, at the moment, it did. It ended up being a success. We had, like, our couple issues here and there.
No, it was it was awesome.
It was
I was very happy. Raging success.
It was the first time I looked at something and I went,
did it.
Okay, that was good. That was pretty cool.
And that's an important moment to have.
There were other people who fucking helped too, which I can't. Like the people who edited that show.
Of course.
Holy shit.
Our
guy Trey, who edits our stuff.
Yes.
Another lunatic. The amount of lunatics that we have here behind the scenes.
Crazy people.
I don't know how they do it.
I mean, the editors, the producers, the cameramen, it's like they have to be, they're even more singularly focused on the nitty gritty of it all. But yeah, I would say being a person who's kind of like never satisfied, never enough, when you do finally have, like 1 Minute Man was that for me. I've had a lot of successes, but I never had one that just went. And the fact that
your interviews are telling you about it? Like Ryan Felipe's like,
the moment that other people who are famous were like, I know you. And I was like, finally got one that I just know is working. And you have that with a dozen. And it's a huge, huge relief. But I guess last question to wrap it up here. I think of the never satisfied enough as it's kind of like a superpower, good thing that you can use. Or do you think of it as like, I wish I wasn't this way? If you could snap your fingers and be a less ambitious person, where it's kind of like ignorance is bliss, you'd just be happy to like have a basic job and get a basic family and live a basic life, where you're just satisfied to like grill some burgers at night, and you would truly be happy because of that. Or be the person you are today that's like, go, I gotta have this great job, I gotta do this great project where it might never feel like it's enough, but you're doing all this cool shit. Which would you rather have?
I would just
stay the way you are. Yeah.
Same thing. And it's about harnessing it and figuring out how to make it work, where you can find like that work-life balance and not just be a psycho and like, why are you up at 4 o'clock? adding those two movies to the movie rankings. Like, why? Just go to bed. Just like
Yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah.
Nobody is gonna look up Scary Movie 6 not being on the website tomorrow. Like, just go to bed. So it's finding that.
But you know what? Somebody might be.
Yeah,
and
that's
why
the
you
problem.
do it. You do it for the one guy across another country.
It's the
Being
McConaughey
like,
thing.
where's fucking Scary Movie 6?
I always post that thing from the Oscars. He got ripped for this when he did it, and I think it was bullshit. Like, for all the
Yeah, what was his
nonsense that we hear at
speech?
the Oscars, he came up and he said, and I want to thank my hero. And he said his hero was him in 10 years.
Yes.
And he had the whole thing. He's like, I'm never going to be my hero.
Right.
Like, I'm never going to reach
Right.
that goal. He goes, no, my hero's me, like, down the line. And that has rang true with me since I heard him say that. I'm like, I'm not one to, like, listen to speeches. Like, I don't listen to pump-up speeches. But I heard that. I was like, well, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
And he's, first of all, he's hot as shit. He's cool as hell.
And he delivers it
And then he said, all right after
Yeah,
that. So,
of
like,
course.
how
He
do you
knows
not
he's
like
doing
it? But he
it,
got
yeah.
crap for that. And they're like, oh, he's so conceited. No, he's not. Like, he's giving great advice.
No,
like,
yeah.
Like, just always push that goal further. And that was me with going to Penn State, same like the Olympics. Like, or me watching you guys in the rundown.
Yeah, you had your moments
I
where
was
like,
like,
I'm going
I wanna
for
work
that.
there.
Yeah.
And that's for me. It's like set that attainable goal. I missed out on one job early in college, NFL internship, which honestly would have sucked ass. So I'm glad I didn't get it. Thank God, that would have not been fun. But I said, like, I never
Fueled you.
I said I'm never not going to get a job since then. And
So far,
you know,
working
again,
out.
I'm not Dave Portnoy. I'm not not on 100 million. But
nobody,
I'm also
not
30, and
everybody
I haven't been turned down on a job since, and that's very prideful for me.
That's
like,
awesome
that means
to say
a lot.
that.
Yeah.
I'll never get turned down from a job, and you haven't since. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully never again.
And I would say for for the sake of the fans, sometimes I say I wish I was the guy who didn't have the ambition or wasn't, just live the simple life and be happy. But it's like, but there's a reason I do this because I say I want to be that guy, but I don't think I do. And there's nothing wrong with being that guy. It's just not who I am. And I think for the sake of fans who consume all your shit, I think they're all very happy that you're the guy you are because they love the dozen, they love the movies, they love all of the recaps, they love, all the nerd stuff, all the sports stuff that you're doing. They love it. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's a reason why, bro. There's a reason why.
You and I, if we sat there on day one of quitting this with a fucking bowl of cereal, we'd be like, fuck.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
What have we done?
We'll do this. We'll have to do another interview
we would
like
die.
20
We'd
years
be like
from now.
Bear Bryant and Joe Paterno. Well, we would. All right, maybe not the best reference.
No. Maybe not.
Once you lose what you love, you die.
It is very true, man. And there's a reason why you were like the #1 most requested for this. So I appreciate you doing it.
This is awesome. This is a blast. Yeah.
Thanks for watching Behind the Blog with Jeff D. Lowe. Leave a comment below for other Barstool personalities you want to see sit down with me, and even non-Barstool personalities. Anybody that you want to get into their career and do an in-depth sit-down interview with me, drop a comment below. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to get notifications turned on.
He'll never talk about
What did you get fired for?
It wasn't that interesting. Yeah, so I had to take over the Cubs because I was like doing a good job with one of the other accounts, and they were like very adamant about how to do it. And they said one night, okay, you gotta do this tonight. And I actually walked into work and I said, I was already interviewed for GMA at this point. So like, I was like, whatever. I was like, are you serious? I go, if I fuck up, you go, why would you want this? You get fired if you fuck up.
Right.
And I said Jorge Soler hit his third career road home run. It was his fourth. So it was wrong. And the Cubs had me fired.
Get the fuck out of here,
It's
man.
for real? Luckily, it was the best thing that happened to me because I was already interviewed for my job, and then I was going to a bachelor party in Vegas the next week, so I went to California a week early, and then I got to enjoy it. But I was like, he's like, yeah, the Cubs called, we got to let you go. I was like, what? Are you kidding me?
Insane, dude.
Like, I'm fired? Like, right now?
And that's the reason why, like, some of those accounts in Major League Baseball are the way they are, where they're at.
Fucking nuts. Then actually, one of my coworkers ended up getting hired the next year because of that, though, so. They're like, well, we have to hire a real guy. Like, yeah, stop running your shit out of Chelsea Market.
Well, Jace is gardener, and Truman works in the garage, and I don't know what Crew does.
Yeah, let's pull him up. Jeff, pull him up. How do you vote against him? He has the face of an angel. Yeah, he's the future of man.